Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome to our approach tutorial in the iniBuilds Airbus A330 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We have just completed the 10,000 foot checks and are now in the descent towards our runway. Now, at this point in time, we are eventually going to get a clearance to an altitude. So let's say, for example, today descending to an altitude of 2,500 feet. Once cleared to an altitude, we are going to set our QNH to the local pressure setting, such as 1024 today. When this is completed and you are both below 10,000 with all the light switching already done, and when the altimeters are set to the local QNH, we can run the approach checklist. Once the approach checklist is complete, we are going to have to think about a couple different items. In today's example, we are on course towards Bavoum and then from there directly onto the final approach. However, do notice that if you are getting radar vectors from air traffic control, you need to think about sequencing your flight plan. Sequencing the flight plan means that the active inbound waypoint has to be one that you are still going to overfly on the approach, so that the logic of the active waypoints on your flight plan equals what you are really going to fly over, so that you have proper missed approach guidance available in case of a go-around. Let's imagine for a moment that we're getting radar vectored by air traffic control. So let's just pull the heading knob over here and go into open descent mode. So now we want to extend the center line. How do we do this? It's fairly easy. You go to direct, then you select the waypoint in question, for example Bavoum today, and we know that our final approach track is 237. Select the opposite of that, so 057 in our case, and enter that on the top right for the radial in. Now, once this is entered, you can already see the extended center line down here on your nav display. When you are happy with the radial, select it, and now you can see the aircraft is extending the center line. When this happens, however, nav mode may arm or immediately engage, depending on how close to the extended center line you are, so you will have to pull the heading knob once again in order to ensure that you remain in heading mode. Now, for today's tutorial example, let's go ahead and proceed direct to Bavoum once again. And also resume managed descent, as that is the default modes that Airbus wants us to use. While you're on the approach itself, you should continuously cross-check the altitude versus distance for your landing. It is paramount that you remember your actual energy situation, which is always your actual altitude plus your airspeed. The A330 descends a little bit better than, or rather descends a little bit better in terms of economy, which means goes down worse than your typical other aircraft. Now, for every 1,000 feet you need to lose, you need approximately 4 nautical miles. Therefore, energy management is paramount in the Airbus A330. I do recommend that for every 1,000 feet you pass, you do a calculation in the back of your head. For example, reaching 4,000, we need 4 times 4, so that's 16 nautical miles, and we roughly have that at the moment. Now, keeping your airspeed under control is really one of the most important things when flying an Airbus A330. As we're getting cleared for the approach, we can arm the approach mode and engage the second autopilot in case of an ILS approach. And we can see we've got localizer star immediately. And as we overfly the decel point, we are going to see an automatic activation of the approach phase, which is going to lead to the airspeed reducing towards your approach speed. If you are arriving via radar vectors, you should manually activate the approach phase latest 15 miles from your landing runway. The approach may be flown in 2 techniques, either as an early stabilized approach or as a decelerated approach. The normal technique is the decelerated approach, and when using that technique, you aim to intercept the glide slope at flaps 1 and down with a speed down at the S speed. In many cases, you will have to use the speed brake in order to help the aircraft slowing down. As you can see right now, it barely loses any speed in almost level flight. So let's go ahead and pull the speed brake and help it slowing down. As a general rule of thumb, you want to have the speed down below 200 knots and with at least flaps 1 extended by the time you intercept the glide slope. When the speed is below the maximum speed for the flaps 1 extension, let's extend flaps 1. And now I am going to retract the speed brakes once again. Now, here's a little gotcha. Before you extend the flaps into the 2 position, you might be fooled by the indications on the display. You can see VFE next is indicated as 205 knots. However, if we look at the placard over here, we can see that the actual flap 2 limit speed is 196. Therefore, if you are faster than 196 and you extend the flaps into the 2 position, you will actually get an overspeed condition. Passing 2,500 feet above the aerodrome, we can extend the flaps into the 2 position, and once the flaps are in 2, you will see the effect I've just talked about in a moment. Once the flaps are coming out, the VFE is actually going down. Once the flaps are in 2, lower the landing gear, and at this point you really need to pay special attention to the speed reducing. The speed brakes may be used all the way until the landing flaps are selected, and in many cases you will need to do exactly that. So we've got the landing gear coming down now, creating additional drag, but you can see even with the gear and the speed brakes fully out, the airplane is barely decelerating at the moment. We need to meet the stable approach gate at 1000 feet, however. For this reason, extending the flaps as we are slowing the aircraft down is paramount and should be done in due time so that the necessary drag is created. So, and flaps full. When the speed is nicely under control and getting close to the landing speed limit, then you can retract the speed brakes. But as you can see, when the flaps are selected to full, the speed brakes actually automatically retract. Now, once the landing gear is lowered, we can arm our ground spoilers, turn on the nose light and the runway turn-off light, and then read the landing checklist down from the ECAM memo. So, this concludes the approach tutorial in the Airbus A330. The landing is going to get a dedicated video, so for now I would like to thank you very much for watching. Hope that you have learned something. Be sure to leave your comment in the video description below. Like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.